He had replayed this moment in his head for 5 years. The bus ride home, the walk through his quiet suburban streets, the final turn onto his block where his mother, Carol, would be waiting on the porch of their small blue house, her face breaking into that sunrise of a smile the moment she saw him. Sergeant First Class Michael Thorne held that image close through 3 brutal deployments, through sandstorms and sleepless nights, through the deafening roar of combat. It was his anchor. But as he stood on the cracked pavement, his heavy duffel bag at his feet, he was staring at a ghost. The house was a skeleton. Weeds choked the lawn. The paint was blistered and peeling, and a faded foreclosed notice was stapled to the front door, flapping in the breeze like a surrender flag. His heart didn't just sink, it plummeted into a cold, bottomless void. His mother was gone. The life he'd been fighting for was a lie. And if you've ever believed in the power of coming home, then you need to hear this story. Subscribe, because what happened next will redefine the meaning of family and duty. The panic was a live wire in his chest, a feeling far more terrifying than any firefight. He fumbled for his phone, his calloused thumbs struggling with the screen. Her number went straight to a generic voicemail. The landline was disconnected. He was a decorated soldier, a leader of men, and he felt like a lost little boy standing on that broken sidewalk. All the money he had sent home, nearly every penny of his pay for 5 years, a small fortune meant to give her an easy life, to pay off the mortgage. Where was it? Where was she? The local police station was his only lead. The desk sergeant, a man named Evans with kind, tired eyes, knew the name. Carol Thorne. Yeah, she's okay, son, as far as I know. But she lost the house about 2 years back. Bank said the payment stopped. The words were physical blows. Where is she now? Michael asked, his voice tight. Sergeant Evans looked down, a flicker of pity crossing his face that made Michael's stomach clench. She's working at the Sunrise Diner, over on 5th, a waitress, his mother in her late 60s on her feet all day in a greasy spoon. The image was so wrong, so violently opposed to the future he had dreamed of for her, that he felt nauseous. He needed backup. He called the only family he had left, his squad. Within 20 minutes, a beat-up Ford Bronco pulled up, and his brothers spilled out. Jake, his sharp-eyed spotter, Marcus, a mountain of quiet strength, and Doc, the medic who had patched him up more than once. They were in civilian clothes, but they still moved with a soldier's purpose. They took one look at his face, and the easy greetings died on their lips. The house is gone. My mom's gone. She's working at a diner, he said, the story tumbling out in ragged, furious bursts. They didn't offer empty platitudes. They simply fell in around him. We're with you, Sarge, Marcus rumbled. The walk to the Sunrise Diner was a patrol through hostile territory, their silence a testament to the storm brewing inside him. The bell above the diner door jingled, a sound meant to be cheerful that felt like a cruel joke. The air was thick with the smell of stale coffee and frying grease. The place was mostly empty, a few lonely souls scattered in vinyl booths, and then he saw her, his mother, Carol. Her back was to him, a thin, frail figure in a faded pink uniform dress, wiping down the counter with a rag. Her shoulders were slumped with a weariness that seemed bone deep. Her once vibrant blonde hair was now a dull gray, pulled into a limp ponytail. 5 years. 5 years had stolen the woman he knew and left this husk in her place. A silent scream caught in his throat. He took a step forward, his combat boots scuffing against the checkered linoleum. Before he could call out, a man erupted from the kitchen. A large, florid-faced man in a stained apron, the manager Roy, according to the embroidery. He stormed right up to Carol, his face a mask of contempt. Thorne, he barked, his voice slicing through the quiet. Table 4's complaining about the eggs. Again, how many times do I have to tell you? This dry rubber you keep serving is costing me money? Carol flinched, her whole body curling inward as if trying to make itself smaller. I'm sorry, Roy. I'll tell the cook. You'll do more than that, Roy sneered, jabbing a thick finger toward the table. You'll go apologize, and it's coming out of your pay. Again. At this rate, you'll be working for me until you're 90. He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper that Michael, with his trained hearing, caught perfectly. Maybe you should have thought about that before you got yourself in such a mess. You're lucky I give a pathetic old woman like you the time of day. That was it. The 5 years of distance, the shock of the lost house, the heartbreak of seeing his proud mother broken, it all coalesced into a white, hot fury. The careful control that kept men alive in a war zone shattered. Michael took 3 long, swift strides across the diner. His squad fanned out behind him, not blocking the door, but forming an unspoken, intimidating perimeter. Roy was still leaning over Carol, his finger now almost touching her forehead. "You listen to me, you useless." He never finished. Michael's hand, hard as iron, clamped down on Roy's pointing finger and wrist. The pressure wasn't violent, but it was absolute, unyielding. Roy's eyes bulged in shock and pain. "I suggest," Michael said, his voice a low, deadly rumble that promised violence, "you take your finger off my mother." The entire diner froze. The few customers stopped eating. The cook peered through the service window. Roy stared, first at the hand gripping his, then at the man attached to it. He saw the high and tight haircut, the ramrod posture, the eyes that held a glacier-cold rage. He saw the 3 other grim-faced men standing behind him. "Who the hell are you?" Roy stammered, trying and failing to pull his hand back. Carol Thorne turned around. Her eyes, the same shade of blue as her son's, widened in disbelief. They swept over the uniform, the patches, the ribbons, and finally landed on his face. The years of hardship fell away, replaced by a shock so profound it was almost painful to witness. "Michael," she whispered, the word a fragile, broken thing. "My baby, is that really you?" In that moment nothing else existed. Not Roy, not the diner, not the 5 lost years. Michael released Roy's hand as if it were a piece of trash, his entire focus shifting to his mother. The soldier vanished, and in his place was just a son. "Mum," he said, his voice cracking. He opened his arms, and she fell into them, her small frame trembling violently. She buried her face in his chest, her hands clutching the fabric of his uniform, and she wept. Great, heaving sobs that spoke of years of loneliness, of struggle, of fear, and now, of a relief so immense it could only be expressed through tears. Michael held her, his own eyes stinging, his throat tight. He could feel the sharpness of her shoulders, the terrifying frailty. "I'm home, Mom," he murmured into her hair. "I'm home, and I'm not going anywhere." Roy, meanwhile, had stumbled back, cradling his sore hand. The bluster had drained from him, replaced by a palpable fear. These weren't troublemakers. These were warriors, and he had just been terrorizing the mother of one of them. Jake took a single step forward, his eyes locked on Roy. "You got a problem here, buddy?" he asked, his tone deceptively casual. Roy shook his head mute. "Didn't think so," Marcus rumbled, crossing his massive arms. Michael finally pulled back, keeping his hands on his mother's shoulders. He looked into her tear-streaked face. "Mom, what happened?" "The house, the money. I sent you everything." Carol's face crumpled. "Oh, Michael, I was so stupid." She took a shaky breath. "After you left, a man came to the door. He said he was from an investment firm, that he wanted to help me manage the money you were sending. He was so nice, so convincing. He said he could make it grow." A cold knot tightened in Michael's gut. "I gave it to him, Michael. Almost all of it. At first, it looked like it was working. Then he disappeared. The police said it was a scam. The money was gone. I tried to keep up with the mortgage, but I couldn't. I lost everything you worked for. I was so ashamed. I couldn't tell you. You were in a war zone." The weight of her silent sacrifice crashed down on him. She had carried this alone for years, working this degrading job, living in shame, all to protect him. The fury he felt was now cold, deep, and directed at the faceless criminal who had preyed on a soldier's mother. He looked at Roy. "How much does she owe you?" Roy blinked. "What? For the eggs? For the customers? How much?" Roy swallowed. It's not about the money." "It's always about the money," Michael countered. He pulled out a roll of his mustering-out pay, peeled off several $100 bills, and slapped them on the counter. "That's for her last day. She quits. Effective immediately." He looked at his mother. "Get your things, Mom. You're coming with me." As Carol, dazed, went to get her purse, Michael turned his full attention back to Roy. He moved close, invading his space. "Now listen carefully," Michael whispered, every syllable laced with lethal intent. "If I ever hear that you have spoken to another employee the way you spoke to my mother, I will come back here. And we will have a very different conversation. Do you understand the terms of this agreement?" Roy could only nod, his face pale. Carol emerged, holding her small, worn purse. She had taken off the pink uniform. She looked like a prisoner granted a reprieve. Michael took her hand. "Let's go home." "But, Michael, I don't have a home," she said, her voice small. "Yes, you do. he said firmly. "Wherever I am, that's your home." He led her out, his squad falling in around them, a protective phalanx leaving the stifling diner behind. The fight wasn't over, but the most important battle, the one for his mother's dignity, was won. In the days that followed, with the help of his brothers and a relentless pursuit of justice, Michael would track down the con man and recover a portion of the stolen money. He would use it to buy a new, smaller house with a garden for her roses. He would watch the light slowly return to her eyes, the smile finally reach them again. He had gone to war to defend his country, but his most important mission ended in a small town diner, fighting for the heart of the woman who had given him everything. The war was over. He was finally, truly home. This story of coming home is one we share, no matter where we're from. And that makes us wonder, from which part of the country are you watching this video? Let us know in the comments below.